This is the Xperia 5 Mark V, Sony's more compact version of their top camera-centric flagship. It comes with a smaller size and a smaller price than the Xperia 1 Mark V, so is this the Sony flagship to get? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Xperia 5 Mark V review. We've made it to the 5th generation of this Xperia lineup, and it brings some nice refinements. The Xperia 5 Mark V has a new main camera, a new chipset, and an upgraded pair of speakers, just like its bigger brother. While the Xperia 1 is Sony's top camera phone, the Xperia 5 Mark V also brings the same cutting-edge main camera. It features the new IMX888 sensor, which has an innovative stacked design, which results in much improved light gathering capability and reduced noise. But unlike either the Xperia 1 or last year's Xperia 5, there's no telephoto cam here. We'll talk more about this in the camera section. Compared to the Xperia 1, this phone is more compact, and that's quite noticeable in hand. And on the front here, you have a full HD display rather than the 4K one on the Xperia 1. Design-wise, the phones are quite similar, but there are a few differences. As we've come to expect from Sony, the Xperia 5 Mark V is a squared-off, black rectangle, tall and narrow. Something new this year is Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back, with a smooth, matte texture. That's unlike the rough, grippy one of the Xperia 1. Along the same vein, rather than having a ribbed texture on the aluminum frame, the Xperia 5's is smooth. Just like on the Xperia 1 Mark V, there's a mic on the backside in the camera bump, so it can pick up the voices of your subjects even better when recording video. Like on previous Xperia phones, you get a dedicated 2-step shutter button for the cameras. And you again get some solid ingress protection here, rated at IP65/IP68. Like I already mentioned, the Xperia 5 Mark V has a 1080p OLED display. It measures at 6.1 inches and has a tall 21:9 aspect ratio and a 120Hz refresh rate. While you don't get the same definition as a 4K display, at 449 ppi there's still plenty of sharpness here. The contrast is excellent, and there's support for 10-bit color and HDR10 video, but not Dolby Vision. There are plenty of color options, and you can achieve great color accuracy in settings. This display is plenty bright, though the max brightness depends on your color and white balance settings. The most we achieved is around 650 nits with the manual slider, and a boost to nearly 910 nits in auto brightness mode, in bright light. Just like on previous Sony phones, there is only one high refresh rate option, enabled or disabled. When it's on, the display will stick to a 120Hz refresh rate even when idling, except for frame rate specific content and apps. You only get 128 gigs of storage on board the phone, but that is expandable through microSD, something you don't often see on flagships. And another rare feature you'll find on the Xperia 5 Mark V is a 3.5mm jack for headphones. Besides that, there is a pair of front-facing stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support. Like on the Xperia 1, this year they're upgraded with a new amplifier, which feeds them with higher driving voltage. The loudness here is good, and the sound is quite rich. You can listen for yourself with the provided link. For biometrics, the Xperia 5 Mark V has a side-mounted fingerprint reader built into the power button. It's quick and accurate. The interface of the phone looks very similar to stock Android 13 as far as layout goes. There are quite a few custom features on top though. For example, with SideSense, a handle on the side of the phone opens up a menu of shortcuts to apps and features, most of it customizable. Another feature is multi-window switch. It's basically 2 task switchers stacked on top of one another, meant for navigating and opening apps in split-screen mode. The brand new Video Creator app allows for some basic video editing right on the phone. There is even an auto-edit feature, where you just select the media in up to 4K, and the software will combine it and stitch it automatically. The app is tailored toward videos in portrait orientation, but landscape videos seem to work too. Another app allows you to connect the phone to use as a monitor for a Sony Alpha camera. And there's a cool app called Music Pro. It's a paid service that allows you to record singing and instruments and upload it to the cloud for pro-level processing. Like the Xperia 1, there is a feature-rich game enhancer, which can be accessed within a menu or as an in-game overlay. The UI has been updated for the Xperia 5 too. You actually get 3 separate camera apps on the Xperia flagships: Photo Pro, Video Pro, and Cinema Pro. It's not the first time we've seen them, but these apps offer a few new features this year. If you'd like to find out more about those and dive into the nitty-gritty of these 3 apps, you can check out our dedicated video, which we made for the Xperia 1 Mark V. And on top of what we saw in the Xperia 1, the Xperia 5 brings a couple of new camera features. When recording video in the default Photo Pro app, you can finally access all frame rate options available, including 4K 120fps slow-mo, so you wouldn't need to switch to another app for that. And another nice new feature is support for electronic stabilization when recording wide dynamic range videos. With the Xperia 5 Mark V, you get the latest flagship chipset, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. It's both more powerful and more power efficient than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 in last year's model, and it has LPDDR5X RAM. In benchmarks, the Xperia 5 Mark V does an excellent job, as you'd expect, in the same ballpark as other flagships packing the same silicon. There's more than enough power here for multitasking and heavy gaming. When it comes to the thermal management, the Mark V is subpar though, displaying heavy thermal throttling during our prolonged stress test. Still, Sony claims that the better efficiency of the new chipset and the 40% larger heatsink means users would no longer get overheating while using the cameras like they did on past phones. Just like the Xperia 1, the Xperia 5 Mark V is powered by a 5000 mAh battery. It did an excellent job in our battery life tests, scoring an endurance rating of 130 hours. Charging still maxes out at 30 watts, and there is no charger or cable in the box. With a proper adapter, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 50% in half an hour. It's okay, nothing too crazy, and the speed is even lower if the phone is even slightly toasty. There's also support for wireless charging too. Finally, let's get into the cameras, just 2 on the back. The new 48 megapixel main cam and a 12 megapixel ultrawide cam. Sony got rid of the telephoto cam, but they claim that their new quad Bayer main sensor can provide 2 times lossless zoom to make up for it. The main cam bins pixels to save 12 megapixel photos by default. These are excellent across the board, with accurate colors, plenty of contrast, and praiseworthy dynamic range. There's abundant detail here with balanced processing. Foliage and intricate details look nice and natural. The bokeh mode has been improved even compared to the Xperia 1 Mark V, and the portraits are impressive. The subject looks detailed, sharp and well exposed, and the separation from the background is very proficient. The blurred backgrounds are nice too. Although there's no telephoto cam here, the 2 times lossless digital zoom is great. We'd say that the quality is no worse than what we got from the Xperia 5 Mark IV's zoom cam, albeit without the telephoto perspective. The photos have high levels of detail and sharpness, and we didn't see any artifacts as a result of the zoom. While the detail isn't quite on par with the regular 1x photos, the colors, contrast, and dynamic range are all just as nice. Sony's low-light photography has been improved this year thanks to the cutting-edge sensor and the newly developed night view mode. We've already seen that on the Xperia 1 Mark V. You can't exactly control the night view mode. Even after toggled on, the processing will kick in only if the phone decides that the scene is dark enough. When it does work, it adds a couple of extra seconds to the processing time. In general, these nighttime photos are superb. They are incredibly detailed, with outstanding color saturation, nicely wide dynamic range, and low noise. The balanced rendition is really nice to see. When the night view does trigger, the resulting photo is a bit brighter, especially in the sky, but it's not necessarily better. Without night view, you could argue that the darker look is more natural. The 2x zoomed photos taken at night are very good. They are bright and detailed, with low noise, good dynamic range, and excellent color saturation. Their per pixel quality is not on par with the non-zoomed photos, but nobody expected that really. The main cam's 4K video quality is good. The colors are lively, the dynamic range is wide enough, and the contrast is good too. The natural look here is praiseworthy. However, the quality of fine details here is a bit subpar. There's also a wide dynamic range mode for video recording, and it provides more pleasant colors, higher contrast, and better controlled highlights. Plus, the footage is more detailed and sharper. And this year, wide dynamic range mode supports electronic stabilization. The steady shot stabilization is available for all of the cameras. At the high quality setting, it doesn't seem to affect the video quality, and it does an excellent job at smoothing things out. At night, the 4K videos from the main camera are good. They have realistic exposure and enough detail. The colors and contrast look nice, and the noise levels are tolerable. We expected a bit better dynamic range though. Now let's talk about the ultrawide cam. For this sort of camera, it has to be one of the best around. Its photos have plenty of detail, with natural rendition, spot-on sharpness, and low enough noise. The colors are true to life, and the dynamic range is wide too. The ultra-wide camera also captures very good photos at night. They are well exposed, detailed, and sharp, with impressively low noise, realistic colors, and well-controlled highlights. Without the night view mode kicking in, the shots look more realistic and sharper, with lower noise. The night view introduces a bit of noise, but you get a brighter exposure. The ultra-wide cam's 4K video quality is pretty much the same as the main cams, but with a much wider field of view. Once again, the wide dynamic range mode offers excellent detail and sharpness, more contrast, and better processing. We recommend using it. And selfies from the 12-megapixel front-facing cam are very good. They're detailed and sharp, with good contrast and accurate colors. And of course, the natural rendition is here as well. So that's the Sony Xperia 5 Mark V. It's a great package all around, with a waterproof build, a great display and speakers, excellent battery life, a powerful chipset, and killer cameras. Plus you get features like a headphone jack and a microSD card slot. This is not a cheap phone though, and this year they've also trimmed the zoom camera to maybe avoid this phone eating into the sales of its bigger brother. Plus some of the features here, like the multiple camera apps, are definitely for a niche audience. Still, with the Xperia 5 Mark V, Sony fans, plus people looking for a cutting-edge, compact flagship should be pretty happy. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're looking for alternatives to the Xperia 5 Mark V, one option is Samsung's Galaxy S23, or you could have a look at the Asus Zenfone 10. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.